Welcome back. So for this one, I'm going to quickly show how to install Proxmox again, but this time I'm using a different machine, the machine I put in the last video. I've got my Ventoy USB plugged in, so hopefully I can boot directly from it. I have put my 256GB SSD into the PC, spamming F9, because that's what you need for an HP computer to go to boot menu. So that's my boot menu there. I'm going to go with the UEFI USB. That should boot me directly into Ventoy. Perfect. I've got all my operating systems here. So again, for anyone watching this for the very first time, this is the massive benefit of using something like Ventoy. I'm not sure if there are other tools out there like this, but what Ventoy allows me to do is to have a single memory stick and have all these operating systems on a single memory stick, so I don't have to have different memory sticks for different operating systems. So as you can see here, I've got Debian 12.9, Elementary OS 8, Mint 22, Proxmox 8.4, ESXi 8.0 update 3E, Windows 10, Windows 11, Zorin OS 17.2. So I'm going to go with Proxmox for this one. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to boot in normal mode, let it do its thing. I'm going to go with the option that is graphical. With the terminal interface, you can only access the server using SSH over the network, whereas with the graphical interface, you can access the server using one of those web UIs like similar to what VMware ESXi has. So that's going to be the better option for most people. So I'm going to press enter on that one. So the next step, this is the EULA. I'm definitely not going to read all of that right now, but I have a general understanding of what it is. Where do I want to install Proxmox? I've got two drives at the moment. So the first one is the NVMe SSD, which I have in the system, and the second one is a USB drive that has the operating system already on there. So that's just the ISO. You need to choose the internal drive. Do not choose the external drive. It shouldn't even work anyway, but I've never actually chosen it. I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to click on next. For country, I'm going to type in United Kingdom, and then that changes it to Europe, London down there. Keyboard layout, United Kingdom. Yep. Click next. Password, I'm going to have a password. I'm going to have a password there. I'm going to put an email address in as well, just in case this actually does send me any notifications. I'm going to have it sent to my email address. I'm going to do next. It's detected everything. So the only thing I need to change here is the host name. So I'm going to change that to something that I can probably remember. Probably just PVE, which is Proxmox Virtual Environment .local. That's most things on your network are going to be the name of the thing, then .local. So I can find it quite easily. Click next. This just gives me a quick rundown of everything I just entered. It says automatically reboot after successful installation. Click install. This should be quite quick. So the reason I actually went for a slightly larger PC as well is if I'm using this as an actual server for testing or doing whatever I'm doing, I want the extra headroom to be able to add more RAM, whereas the mini PC I had before, the RAM was soldered in there, so I couldn't actually change anything. Additionally, with this one, I can actually add more hard drives as well. That's going to be a massive benefit if I want to use it as a file server. And on top of that, because it's a larger PC, I can cool it a lot easier, so I can actually attach extra fans to it. It doesn't have any space on there for extra fans, but I can stick an extra fan somewhere quite easily. And because it's going to be on for such a long time, if it's a server testing and running things in the background, then ideally I want to have it cooled quite well. The basement that it's in is very cold, so it shouldn't be an issue. Just to give it a bit of extra leg room, I wanted to be able to do that stuff. Installation is all finished, and now this is on my local network. I'm not going to log in on the server itself. That HTTPS address here, so that's I can use that to log in from my personal PC, mobile phone, tablet, whatever it is. So I can actually manage this entirely from another PC or from another internet capable device. I'm going to leave this running as a headless setup, meaning I'm going to turn the monitor off and just not touch this thing ever again. The only thing I need to do sometimes is maybe cycle it, so I'll shut down then maybe turn on again using the button, but other than that, I'm done with this. Again, this is me accessing from my PC, so I'm going to go to the web address that was there. I think it was 192.168.0.187.8006. I think it should be that. Yep, perfect. So once this comes up, you do need to simply click on continue to site. Different browsers might show it slightly differently. Because I'm using Google Chrome, this is how it comes up. Click on continue, go to advanced here at the bottom, because it's going to tell you that you shouldn't be going to this website. It doesn't know that it's a local device, so it just says the website isn't secure or the connection is not private. Click on advanced, go to proceed. This should be okay. The reason I say that, this is not accessing the internet at the moment, so even though it says it's not secure, you should be fine, because what happens is it's simply speaking to the PC or the server directly over your personal internal network. The username should be root, ROOT. This should be the password I entered when I was installing the operating system, so it should be that. You enter your password, whatever that is, click login, and there we go. Perfect. It says you don't have a valid subscription for this service, please visit to get. Okay, I don't need that right now. I know that there's a way of getting rid of this every time I boot in. If I change the update update packages or update list, but I'm not going to worry with that right now. I'm just going to go and jump straight in. When you load in for the very first time, this is roughly what you should see. So down here, I've got 12 CPUs. So this is exactly why I chose this PC. This is the 10500, which has 6 cores, 12 threads. Because this is a Type 1 hypervisor, it sees it as 12 CPUs, and right now it's using 0% of that. It's using memory. So this kind of tells me that the CPU isn't being used and Proxmox is being held in RAM because it's using 1.5 gigabytes or 15 gigabytes of RAM. The first thing I think we should do is go over on the left hand side. Let me try and zoom in as much as I can. On the left hand side here, where it says data center at the very top, then PVE underneath, I'm going to click on PVE. There's a tiny arrow next to the PVE icon on the left hand side. It's a right pointing arrow. I'm going to click on that. It gives us a drop down list. From the drop down list, I'm going to go to where it says local and in brackets PVE. That's that second option there. From here, I'm going to go to ISO images, and this is where I'm going to upload the operating system I want to use to launch my virtual machine later on. I will be doing containers at some point, but for now, let's just stick to virtual machines. This is what most people want to learn when they start doing this stuff. So I'm going to click on ISO images, and then I showed in my previous video, I can either upload it directly or I can download it from a URL. So if you want to know how to download it from a URL, you simply put the website address in here and it will download it automatically. So you don't have to actually go in and copy anything. But because I have loads of ISOs laying around, I'm going to do the upload option. It's just a bit quicker for me. Click on upload. File, I'm going to select the file I want. For me, it's Debian 12.10 in my documents folder, and it's an ISO file. I'm going to click on it, then click on open. And in here, it's going to ask me for the name. I'm going to change the file name to simply Debian 12.10.0. Get rid of all of this. Keep in mind, you must have that last section that says .iso. That tells the system it's an image file, and you must have it. If you don't have it, it simply won't work. So whatever operating system you're uploading, just be sure that this is on the end of it. Then I'm going to click on upload here, and that should start straight away. There we go. I'll wait for this to finish, and I'll show you the next step. That's finished transferring. So I can either save this, but I don't really need to. That's fine. I'm just going to close this, and that's it. I've got my first operating system here. So I'm going to be using Debian 12.10 as my virtual machine. And the reason I chose Debian, actually, Debian is very stable. And if I go to Google quickly and type in Debian specs, it's going to give us hopefully a list of things. As you can see here, I can run this on 256 megabytes of RAM. That's crazy. Most phones nowadays have 4, 8, 12, 16 gigabytes. This is 4 times less than a gigabyte. It does recommend 1 gigabyte, but again, that's nothing. I've got 16 gigabytes here. What else do I need? Processor. Where are processors? I can use a single core 1 gigahertz processor, and I need about 10 gigabytes of hard drive space. Again, in the grand scheme of things, this is nothing because most devices nowadays have 4, 6, 8, 12, 16, or 20 cores. Most devices nowadays have in excess of 8 gigabytes of RAM, and most devices nowadays have hundreds, if not thousands of gigabytes. So 1 terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes. So this should be more than enough to run this. This is also a solid operating system that doesn't have many issues. People that want to run a web server from home or just run a really solid low resource server, they normally stick to Debian. There are other options out there, but this is the nice free one that's very stable that almost everyone uses.